All right, today we're going to talk about the fundamental part of any marketing strategy. It's called knowing your customer. This is Mosier Talks, episode 4. Let's do it. So the first 3 podcasts, one of them was a Q&A, and the last couple have kind of been rants. So I figured I'd get down to some of the meat of what I want to talk to you guys about. And the reason I started this podcast actually is to help small businesses with marketing. So marketing is one of those things that is pretty much misunderstood as far as from a digital standpoint. Because for instance, I'll ask a home services contractor, like say a roofer, I'll say, who's your ideal customer? And he's like, well, anybody with a house that needs a roof. Well, that's all good and fine, and while it's technically correct, that's kind of the lazy way out. You really need to think about who your customer is. If you're going to put a marketing campaign to reach that customer, you need to really kind of dig a little bit deeper than that. For instance, on a roofing campaign, you might want to think about, here in Florida we have hailstorms. You might want to think about somebody who's just had a hailstorm come through their area and they're not really sure what to do. And you really want to get this picture of this ideal customer and what they're thinking, and most businesses are going to have more than one of these. For instance, one of ours here, we call him Small Business Owner Stanley. He is a home services contractor. He's got about between 5 and 10 employees. He does between $500,000 to $5 million a year in business, and he's struggling to understand how to better market his business. And that is, you might find that is you, and if that's the case, then that's exactly why we're probably reaching you right now, is because that's who we target. When we do our marketing, when we do every piece of content on our website, when I do my blog entries, when I make my Facebook ads, everything about what we do is targeted to a persona. We have others, but Small Business Owner Stanley is probably our more prominent one that we go after, because we really love home services companies, the small businesses, helping them out and that kind of thing. So let's go back to this roofer example. So you've got somebody who, they're buying a house, for instance, and their inspection just said that the roof is going to need replaced in 5 years. Well, what's going to be on the top of their mind? That's going to be probably one of the first things that they do. So what you got to think about is people are in different stages of buying. When they come to your website, people are going to be in a different stage in the buying process. Somebody may be up here where they're actually looking at options. They're trying to figure out what their problem is. They're trying to figure out, do I really need to replace this roof? What type of roof is the best kind of roof in Florida? What kind of roof is going to withstand the next hailstorm? Things like that. Then you have people that are sort of in the middle of the roof buying process that have probably already determined that they need a new roof. They probably know that they need to have a tile roof or a tin roof or whatever it is. And then they're just kind of looking to see, what the differences are. What the difference in company A versus company B versus company C. So we'll call them in sort of a research stage. So you got a research stage, and then you got them in a kind of a shopping stage, a comparison stage. And then when they're ready to buy, like they have money in hand, they know they've got to do this, and they want it done next week, then they're going to be at the bottom of that funnel. So the important thing in marketing is you got to have a message targeted to each one of those people in each one of those buying phases. So I talk about, we call them lead magnets. In inbound marketing, they call them something else. I forget what it is, but whatever you want to call it, it's usually a free offer. It's a free report. It's a checklist. It's something. But the important thing is it's got to give value. It can't just be. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to give you this free ebook and have it just be nothing but a promotional brochure. It's got to provide value. So, when you're marketing this as, hey, not sure what kind of roof you need, then that, or not sure what this works for any kind of painters, plumbers, electricians, just about anybody that has any kind of home services company. It's same thing holds true for insurance. I mean, what to do after a hailstorm? That's a good thing for an insurance agent to be putting information out there. Here's your action plan. Here's your storm action plan, because we have a whole hurricane season here in Florida. It's kind of silly not to offer some sort of a guide, right? Then, once you get their name and email address, you can probably probe them a little bit further, find out when they're going to renew their policy or when it's up for renewal, and then guess what? You'll remember to follow up with them then. So targeting your target buyer, targeting your ideal customer isn't necessarily just hey, I need to target anybody that owns a house, you really need to kind of think of some scenarios. I mean, think about your most profitable scenarios. That's usually where I'd start. We had a plumber one time that, believe it or not, his most profitable product was replacing a hot water heater. The hot water heater is a quick job for an experienced plumber. The hot water heaters he was buying at wholesale, and it turns out people will pay just, hey, they'll pay a flat fee. So he would charge just a flat fee to get that water heater out there and get it installed in their house, and offered it as a package. So you're probably thinking to yourself, how do I reach this customer, or how do I actually sit down and work this out? Well, I've put together, we've gone through inbound training, we've gone through digital marketing training, we've gone through a lot of different trainings, and we've kind of put together this hybrid worksheet that helps you come up with a buyer persona or a customer avatar or whatever you want to call it. This fictional representation of your ideal customer. And I mean, it really gets into where you can actually understand the questions that they're asking. And that's the key, is to understand the questions that person's asking. Because when you can show up as relevant for those answers, that's when you get the customer. When somebody clicks on your site and it answers the question that they were asking, they're probably 10 times more likely to raise their hand and say, yeah, you can have my information. I want to download your free worksheet. So anyway, long story short, we've developed our own little hybrid worksheet that'll help you kind of get into the mind of your customer. And it's going to answer, who they are, where they work, how many kids they have, what do they drive, what do they read, where do they go, what kind of music do they listen to. Believe it or not, it gets that granular. And it's important to get that granular, because then you know where to advertise. I mean, you wouldn't want to advertise to them on Facebook if they're always on LinkedIn, and vice versa. Or you don't want to advertise to them on YouTube if they're always listening to Spotify, or vice versa. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can learn when you actually sit back, get in real detail about the customer you're trying to reach and the problems that they're facing and the questions they're asking, and then it becomes really clear exactly how to get to them and answer their questions. So we put together this worksheet. I'm going to put a link to it down in the description of this video. So if you want to go to that website and download it, you'd be more than happy to. And maybe in one of the future episodes we'll kind of fill it out. Maybe I'll share Small Business Owner Stanley with you guys. Anyway, until then, I do have a question. Somebody did ask me a question that they wanted me to answer on air. So here it is. Mike from Massachusetts asked me, is a hot dog a sandwich? Mike, I have done some extensive research on this. I asked Siri, I asked Google, and the definitive answer is no. Now, there's a lot of different reasons, but my reasoning is this. A sandwich is on 2 slices of bread. A hot dog bun is 1 slice of bread. So it can't be a sandwich, not by any means. Anyway, so there's your answer. Anyway, till next time, I'm Jim Mosier. This is Mosier Talks. Who is your ideal customer? Sorry.